Success, by definition, is when you have a goal and you achieve it.
Were you successful? So you quit and then chose and then worked on your new path?
For 2 months, I freaked out because I didn't know what to do. I had no idea who I was at 29. It's so sad. So at the end of the day, is that success? I don't think so.
Why am I building that career? Why am I working harder to get that title? Why am I earning more money? These are people in privileged positions who start to feel like this, right? Because they've had everything.
This is Unboxing Impact, a series of conversations with people working at the intersection of business, capital, and social change. I am Sunil Lalvani, and my work spans international business and more than a decade building a social enterprise that delivers sustainable access to clean water across rural Africa. In this series, we explore what impact really means, the trade-offs and tensions involved, and how success should be defined beyond financial return.
Lucie Lachaux is a former CFO turned high-performance advisor. She partners with CEOs and top executives at life and business crossroads to help them make clear, strategic decisions and build their next chapter with confidence and purpose. Lucie, welcome to Unboxing Impact.
Thank you, Sunil.
Great pleasure to have you here. I know we talked about it for a while and I'm glad we could make it happen. So Lucie, we met 6-8 months ago. I think we were LinkedIn friends for a little while.
Yeah.
I saw what you were doing and it interested me, and I guess you saw what I was doing, and a few chats, DMs here and there, and then we had a coffee, about 6-8 months ago. Tell us a little bit about your story, who you are, and what you're doing now.
So thank you, first of all, for having me. I'm really excited. I am a former CFO. I used to travel the world and build all the finance processes of a pharmaceutical company, French pharmaceutical company. And then by the age of 29, I decided to shift my career. Not because I didn't like finance or because I didn't like business, but because the way I was living and doing my job wasn't fulfilling to me. There was something missing and I couldn't really explain what it was. And because I'm very impatient, I think I just jumped and stopped everything so I could figure out what was it. And on that journey, I actually discovered a lot of challenges that I was facing, and I had no idea how to solve them. So I've decided and I became passionate about solving the problem of why, when you have everything on paper, you can still feel empty and feel something is missing. And on all of that journey, I discovered coaching. I did my certification, and once I got my certification, I thought, hold on a second, maybe I could try to do that. And so I decided to build my high-performing advisory firm based on that and helping executives who are facing that issue of being at a crossroad where somehow on paper everything is good, success has been achieved, but yet something is missing. So we're working on this by working on the mindset, working on the strategy also for the next chapter. And here I am in Dubai for the last 3 years doing this.
Wow, amazing. So you're in your early 30s and you're on your second career.
Yes, exactly.
Already.
Yes.
So the way I like to start this podcast is asking a question, and I think you've already delved a bit into it. But I asked the question, how do you define success? So let me ask you this: at the end of your career, number one, were you successful?
On paper, yes, but I didn't feel successful.
Okay, so elaborate.
I think you can. So this is how I see it. Success, by definition, is when you have a goal and you achieve it. It doesn't.
By whose definition?
By my definition. You have a goal and you achieve that goal. So this is a success. Doesn't matter which goal it is or anything. It's a success because you have achieved something that you put your mind to. But I think it's very different from feeling successful. I think that what I have noticed with the years and at the end of my first career is that, yes, I was successful in the sense that I have achieved what a lot of people would have liked to achieve and what I wanted to achieve, meaning a great title, good amount of money, living in Dubai. But I didn't feel successful. So at the end of the day, is that success? I don't think so. I think it's more a feeling.
I like that definition. Feeling successful versus being, let's say, perceived to be successful, right? And and we've discussed this before many times, but I think that the challenge we have in the world today, and you see it very much in Dubai, it is perception. It's about the title you have, the car you drive, the salary you have, the villa you live in, the holidays you take, and I don't know how many people actually really stop and think, is this actually what I want? Am I working? Why am I building that career? Why am I working harder to get that title? Why am I earning more money? I guess that's the kind of people that are at that crossroads that you're talking to now, right?
Yes, when they are starting to ask the question, sometimes it's even after, when they have been in that roller coaster, or that's the type of thinking for so many years, and they are at a point where the emptiness or the void is so big they don't even know what they want at all. So that's where I come in. I think peace of mind is everything. It doesn't matter if you have the money, the title, the next Lamborghini, or the big house. If you don't have the peace of mind, and if you don't feel really aligned with what you're doing, it doesn't taste good. So you can be surrounded with a lot of people, you can have a lot of great things, and I'm sure a lot of people would resonate with that. If you never really take the time to stop and to ask yourself, is that making me truly happy? Then you can stay like that for years and only ending up your life without a lot of memories, except the memories of trying to reach a level that you don't even know why you're trying to get there. I think it's sad, but it is a reality.
Yeah. So that leads to question number 2. What is success? And then what is happiness?
I thought about this a lot recently, and I saw definition from Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you know this person. He's a big entrepreneur. And he has a very simple definition. He said, happiness is you spending time with people you like, doing things you like as often as you can. And I think I like that definition, because happiness is simple. It should be simple. It's not a state of mind, a constant state of mind. It appears in some moments, I guess. When you do things you like, when you are with people you like, you usually feel happy. So I like that definition. For me, it is that. But again, after reflecting on success and even fulfillment and happiness, for me, it's all about peace of mind. If you have that peace of mind that what you're doing is what you want, and you're very confident in your intention, you find much more easily some happiness. You find much more fulfillment, and you do find much more success. I think that's how I perceive it anyway.
I like that. So with your typical clients, what is it? What's the typical aha moment for them when they wake up at 30, 40, 50 and think, what's it all been about? What's it all for? And I guess typically these guys are successful in terms of, because I think first of all, these are people in privileged positions who start to feel like this, right? Because they've had everything that they wanted or thought they wanted laid in, or maybe worked for it, but now in front of them, and then they're thinking, well, so what? Or what's next? Or what additional? So what wakes people up to this suddenly one day and think, I need to see Lucie?
Usually, it's interesting. Usually, it's boredom in their career, or it's that something is happening in their business or in their career. Because all of their identity is based on how they achieved and their title and their role. Whenever there is a hit in the road, that's where they start freaking out and saying, oh my God, because if this is not going the way that I want, then who I am? Or if I am bored and I don't bring any value anymore because I've been doing this job for the last 5 years, then who am I? And they found themselves very uncomfortable with that question because they can't answer it. And so obviously when you can't answer it, you can't build what's next, because you don't know who you are, you don't know what you truly want, and so it's impossible for you to build what's next. So it is usually when there is a bump on the road. It can also come sometimes from a divorce or personal issues, but most of the time it's coming when business is not working well, or there is something happening in the career that they realize that everything that they have done is based on their career, everything that they have and they define themselves for is the career. So that is really much a moment that is very, very difficult.
So what was your bump?
My bump was when I came to Dubai with this pharmaceutical company. It wasn't exactly what I was expected, sorry. And so I have decided to move away from that company because I didn't think it was fair. One thing that is very important to me is integrity in people and in myself as well. My words or my action. It's just one big value that I have. And in that case, it wasn't happening. So once I had that, and when that's happened, I started really reflecting on what's happening, what do I want, and how come, because I never failed before, so everything was so good. And one day, I remember wearing my heels and getting ready to work, and I thought, this is not what I want anymore. This is not aligned with who I am. This is not the way I want to live my life. And that's it. It was really happening literally in a morning where I decided to quit that job.
So you quit and then chose and then worked on your new path?
Yeah. So I quit without really knowing what to do.
Okay.
The real story is I quit that company. For 2 months, I freaked out because I didn't know what to do. And everyone around me was like, no, you have to find a job. Dubai is expensive. Are you crazy? Etc. I found another job. And after 2 months of that job, I just left the job again. And I thought, no, I'm just going to figure things out. The problem is I didn't have a plan. But because I was so drained and exhausted, and I had no idea who I was at 29. It's so sad, right? Because like for me,
You're so old and over the hill, right?
no, but I think it's so, for me, the way I see my life and the way I want to live my life is not like that. It's not removing all the fire and the passion that I have on a daily basis just to what? Just to do a job that brings money. This is not what I envision for my life. This is not what I want my kids to see from me, So that was really a moment where I thought, this is not the life that I want and I can build it differently. But no one understood that around me. Everyone thought I was crazy, immature. I lost a lot of people by making that decision, which is insane to say, but this is true. But I was very dedicated. I knew it wasn't the way I wanted to do things. And so I just had some faith and some trust in myself. And I thought, if I want another job, I'll find another job. That's not a problem. What I need to figure out now is, who is Lucie? And how can I find a job that I like while living the life that I want to live?
I want to dive into some things you said there. Because one thing I wanted to ask, and I will ask it, but it's related to so many things you said there, was for yourself, certainly, and I'm sure for a lot of your clients, making this adjustment and actually making it at 29 versus making it at 55 are going to be two very, very different things, because you're at 29, you're still young and you can still pivot and you've got, a lot of time ahead of you. 55, you have a lot of time ahead of you. But fear will obviously play a role. And hence it's impressive that you just decided that's what I want and left without having your bases covered. So let's dive into that first. I've got some other questions, but let's dive into that first. So what role did fear play for you, and then how have you seen that play in your clients' lives?
What, sorry?
Fear.
Fear, yeah, okay.
Fear in terms of making that change.
Yeah, I understand. Listen, fear is always here and it will always be there. But at that time, to be very honest, what I thought was I never failed. And it's not normal. I wanted to fail. Why? Because I wasn't feeling anything anymore. So I thought, at least if I fail, it will wake something up inside me, that hunger, that, the people that I admire, the successful people that I admire, they all had failed. They all had to prove their worth and work on a project that they are passionate about, that, having an unconventional path. I'm smiling while I say that because I love it. I know it sounds a bit weird, but I do love it, and I didn't have that. So yes, I was scared, but I was so relieved because finally I could decide for myself. Finally, I was in control. Instead of managing my life and trying to fit and trying to go at 9 a.m. at the office and do what I was supposed to do, and there was a lot of pretending and all of that. It's just not me. So when I quit that, I was so relieved, to be honest. Of course, then fears appear because you start doubting yourself. You don't really know what you want. And you have so many people talking to you constantly and telling you that it's not the right decision. They all give their opinion. without really understanding that you are going through that fear. And that's what my clients are facing as well, because they are strong people. On paper, they are very strong. A lot of people rely on them. They never really show any vulnerabilities. They never really talk about their demons and what they truly feel. So people around them, they see them as a very strong person. So then people around come and have, I would say, they are less careful with their word. They just think that you're invincible, and for you it's easy to do different decisions and make decisions like that, but it's not the case. So while I was facing a lot of fear, the people around me were adding a lot of fear as well. And so what I needed to do is to really, really work on myself at that moment and to gain a lot of self-trust so I can move forward. Now, what I know is that fear never disappears. It's, you just need to dance with the fear. Every big moves, and I think you know that very well, the more the stakes are high, the more it's difficult. And you know what? This is the game. At the end of the day, I think it's Brené Brown who said that. She said that there are people in the arena fighting and fighting for their life, and there are people watching. And you pick who you want to be and what type of life you want to build. And I made my decision at that time. It was so obvious to me. I was scared, but I was also excited, and I relied on the excitement much more than the fear. It's a long answer. I hope it's
No, it's great. It's great. So and this was the other point I wanted to come back to then, because you also just looped back to it, was you made this comment that when you made this change, you lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
By their choice or by your choice?
My choice, I think.
Okay, why?
Because it wasn't serving me. It wasn't helping me to heal, first of all, because when you quit a job, there is a healing part, because it was my identity. That was who I was, a CFO. So I needed to really heal from that cut. Actually, I couldn't say I was a coach for maybe a year. It was so difficult. So that was this part. And it wasn't serving me to push me to go even further, because everyone was so scared, and they
Scared for you.
Yes, scared for me, and a lot of judgment, which I still don't understand to that day, but a lot of judgment where it's not their life, it's not their money, but still they had something to say about my path, where at that time I needed someone who can trust me, who can believe in me, who don't think that I am crazy, and someone who is telling me, you can do it. Don't worry. If you need anything, if you need a dinner or to grab a coffee, I'll be here for you. And I think that's what we're missing so much. And that's why also my advisory works that well. It's because when you are at that level, you don't have anyone around you like that. And we underestimate the power of one discussion like this. One day you start, not really believing in yourself. You have doubts. You're not in the mood, and then you just meet someone. You have a great conversation. That person believes in you, and my God, it gives you battery for like 2 weeks, right? But we don't have that, because we are only focusing on who has the most, as you said, the bigger car. I should pretend, and all of that. This is a reality. And so because of that, I didn't want to be with those people. Not that I had big dreams and everything, but just because I wasn't in a state where I could take all of those hits from them. Yeah.
So that's where my question came from, and that touches on the thing we were discussing before we started recording. Your definition of success and other people's definition of success. You were this high flying, young CFO going places, and you picked up a friendship circle. I'm assuming here, but correct me if I'm wrong. But you picked up this friendship circle that resonated with that life and that title and that persona. And suddenly, when that broke, then it just wasn't fit anymore. And I think what we were talking about before, we can dive into more now, is then it's about picking up the new friends that you like, and when you're 30 and 40 and 50, it's obviously more difficult to make friends than when you're in school and university, obviously, because everyone's just playing around and coming with that. And you're in a new place in Dubai still. I'm assuming you didn't have a huge social circle at that time, and then you've got to make yourself a social circle with people who share your values, which you maybe didn't even know yourself at that time. You're still curating them in your own mind. Tell us how did you navigate that, and what's your view on meeting people today and I don't say judging them, but assessing, yeah, I'll say it bluntly. Is it worth spending your precious time on a relationship like that? So how did you navigate all of that?
I stayed alone for a lot of time, for sure, because I needed to deal with, what was happening. So it was tough. It was tough. And I think because of the judgment and as what we said before, it is for me it was better to stay alone. I go to the gym every day, so I had like people that I knew, but just like that, a friendly chat, maybe over a coffee, but that's it. That wasn't that much. And I think there is a big part of boundaries and how you put your boundaries at that time. You know, I would say 80% of my clients, when they are in the edge of changing something in their life, not a drastic change like that, but changing something in their life, they go to their old friends or their friends, and 99% of the time they come back to me with a list of excuses of why not doing it, right? And I was very aware of that. I was very aware that the people around me didn't have the life that I want. And so this is how I put my boundaries and this is how I meet people. I give you an example. I will not say which event, but recently I was invited to a very big event in Dubai where I was supposed to meet a lot of very empowering women and, be inspired and hopefully get like-minded people there. But it was the opposite. And I was so disappointed. But at the same time, I wasn't really surprised because all it wasn't empowerment. It was just judgment and who has the, I don't know, the latest purse or the biggest company and judgment everywhere. And I think at the beginning it's painful. And you go into those events and you try to meet people, you try your best and you're disappointed. And then what I've learned is remind myself what I want and that there are people that are like-minded. For example, you when we met. And secondly, I'm so content with who am I and what am I doing that I'm not in a need for any type of friendship or any type of relationship. I am not impressed with money. I have never been. I come from a very, very modest family. I lived very tough here when I was a child. For me, someone who has a Lamborghini or someone who is having a Nissan, I really don't care. I'm passionate and I admire and respect people who are fighting for their ideas and their life and people who have a strong integrity. That I know it very well. So when I enter in the room, I'm not biased by money or charm or, great career title and things like this. So I think bottom line is once you know yourself, why you're here and you enter without expectation, just there with curiosity, you have more chances to meet the right people. It is not easy, mostly not in a city like Dubai, I think, but it's not impossible.
I think that's I mean, you and I resonate because I think we have similar values that way. And again, I'm going to come back to that word fear again. But then I think fear from a lot of people, because and we're in Dubai, and Dubai has a showy lifestyle for all its great things. And I think people are very, very afraid of opening up and admitting that I'm not happy. Exactly as you said, in high-flying jobs, big salaries, well-respected, a lot of people looking up to them as the boss and the leader. But what if I give that all up? Then I won't have the car and the big house. I'll have a car and I'll have a nice house, and I'll have my family around me. But I won't have all these friends, and I won't get taken to all these cool restaurants and bars. And I think there's an underlying fear there, and fear and an insecurity.
But you see, it's very interesting because I love that topic because this is an assumption. It's a fear. So a fear is not true, right? We don't know. Maybe you can shift your career and make a ton of money and being even more wealthy. Actually, you have more chances to make more money as an entrepreneur if you build a business. Let's not even talking about nonprofit or anything. You can make money much faster than as an employee. So if you only focus on money, you should then focus on maybe entrepreneurship in that sense, right? I think there's more opportunity there. But the thing with fear is that we tend to go to the extreme. When it comes to career shift or shift in general, mostly in high stakes, we tend to have that pendulum mindset, which is it's either or.
Yeah.
It's either I am super successful and everyone likes me and I have friends, or I'm poor and I have nothing and just my poor car and my family. But actually, there is a road in the middle. And like I can see, and I see it on a daily basis, a man or a woman, but I work mostly with men, a man that knows why he's there, that is passionate, that has this fire inside him and that is passionate about what he does, can build so much more and attract so much more people that are so different. So I do think that it is a question of you being comfortable with your choice, knowing that there is fear. But I always ask myself the question, what do I want to see when I'll be 90 years old? Do I want to see someone who stays where she is and is not trying, is not daring? Is it really who I am? And is it really the story that I want to tell my children? Or do I want to say, at least I tried?
Yeah.
At least I tried. And when I ask the question to these men, usually, and I ask them, if you lose everything today and you have to do it again, would you be able to do it again? 100% of the time, they answer yes. Yet, they don't dare doing the other thing.
You said so many things.
Sorry.
No. I want to make sure we capture them all. I really liked what you said about it's not one of the, it doesn't have to be one of the extremes.
No.
You have everything, and I see that so much in my work in what they call the impact investing space. Impact investing has become this phrase that people throw around and talk about, and they call it this sort of holy grail where you can make an investment, make massive impact, and there is no compromise on financial return. And I think I've talked to you about this. I think that's just complete bullshit, because I think there's no way. To me, in fact, it's a contradictory message. If you're going to maximize financial return, you are actively causing negative impact, actually. Because if you're maximizing financial return, you are necessarily minimizing your costs, right? That means you're going to pay the lowest salaries you possibly can. You're going to use the cheapest raw materials you possibly can. You're going to use the cheapest energy sources, transport sources. You're doing harm to the environment and the planet by doing that. The only way you can actually have impact is to take away from maximization of profit. Now, that doesn't mean, to your point about a middle ground, doesn't mean I chose to run a non-profit, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you have to now give away everything. Why can't you make a little less profit? Instead of making $1 billion, why don't you make $700 million? It's going to make no impact, no material impact on anyone's life. Well, not your life. It's going to make a massive impact on actually many people's lives in terms of a better salary. But people are just so if I don't maximize my profit, then I'm going to go out of business, or someone will overtake me. Well, fine, okay, but you'll still have a business. You'll still have wealth. You'll still have a lot of employees, more happy and better employees. But yeah, again, I'm going to say that word fear. But people come at it and think, I can't move away from that mindset, because otherwise I'll go to the extreme.
And that's where I think there is a choice that needs to happen. And, sometimes you need to choose. But because what is making people suffering in that situation is that they didn't choose. They are in the middle with the what if, the questioning, I call that the gray area. So you didn't choose. You didn't choose with your heart. You didn't choose with your head. You're constantly thinking about, what if I do that? And so if you don't have the courage, then accept that you don't have the courage. If you don't want to take the financial risk, then don't do it. But admit that every successful person has been through a period where they are taking risk. Because if it wouldn't be the case, everyone would be a millionaire today. Everyone would be successful. If you're not ready to take that road, that is okay as well. But the problem and the reason why people are suffering is that they are not accepting it. Once you accept that and you're saying, you know what, I'm staying in my role, I will do that for 20 years. I know it's boring, but I am not someone who can take the risk, and I'm fine with that. Then what you can do is then maybe develop other areas of your life to make you happy and fulfilled. That's fine as well. But stop hesitating and stop putting in your mind that you want to be an entrepreneur or that you want to change your career, because actually you don't want it. What you want is the easy way out, and it doesn't exist. So It's just a choice at the end.
And I think this is another really big problem we see today, and it's obviously all over social media. 'Cause, you open Instagram and you see how many entrepreneurs there are, how many successful entrepreneurs there are who are making 7, 8, 9-figure incomes by sitting back and just putting some algorithm on the computer, which again is all bullshit, frankly, right? Because they open an Instagram page and claim to have a certain life. And that's a world that so many people just get exposed to. And again, it's sort of fear, FOMO, that I want that life. Look at that person, how much money they're making. They're doing nothing, and they look fantastic, and they're running this business, and yet they're going out for all these fancy meals to all these cool restaurants. Look, there might be 0.1% of successful people who can do all of that, but being again financially successful, as you saw in your career, your early career, and even your now career, right, takes a lot of work. There are no shortcuts to achieving success in your definition of success, and I think there is again this shortcut thinking of people that's going to be my quick route to happiness, and I'm miserable because I'm working a 9-to-5 job or a 9-to-9 job. I'm being exploited by my team, by my management, and I could just be doing that.
But you can't. Exactly what I say. You can't, because if today, this is a bit tough, right, to say, but I'm talking with really top executive on a daily basis. If today you can't manage your calendar as an employee, you will not be able to manage your calendar as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you are tight with a task and you are still doing the operational stuff and you are still controlling every single thing of your team, which then leads you to end up your work at 9 p.m., forget about entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship, the to-do list is huge. You are under pressure every single day. So you're not ready for it. You need to start optimizing your system, your own system, and how you work if you want to get ready for entrepreneurship. There are people, one thing that you talked about that I saw, there are new ways of making money today in 2025, and it will be a lot in 2026 and the coming years with AI and everything. I was on a phone very recently with 6 people from 20 to 30 years old. They have 18 companies running on cold sales in the US. They're making millions, right? And they are at home, and those are making business. So there are possibilities and opportunities to make business very differently, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But at any point of that, there's a lot of hard work. And so people who are thinking about maybe shifting, etc., as I said, they're looking for an easy way out.
Yeah.
But this is not the truth. What you can do is, yes, make a ton of money differently online, create something new. The world is so different than before. So this is really, really good. And you have a lot of free training. You don't know how to do marketing, you go on YouTube. You don't know how to, do financial planning, business plan, etc. You have everything for free. So you're very lucky. And that's not the problem. The strategy is not the problem here. It's the fact that you want to change your life, but you don't want to compromise.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And again, when I say compromise, I didn't say sacrifice. It's very different, because a compromise is just for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to live, in a studio with 5 of your family members and eat potato for a month. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you will take a risk knowing what you're doing. Most of the time, you have financial savings, I want to say. So you just have a plan. And you work hard. I was going to say something else. You work very hard to make it happen. Because when it comes to high stakes environments, most of the time, people are smart, clever. They can, whenever you have that acceptance, that this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going, and I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I'm going to make it, you become unstoppable. But you need to work hard.
Yeah.
You need to take the risk, because without that, there's no success at the end.
So I agree completely. And I think that's something very interesting you said there. Compromise versus sacrifice. That's a really good way to phrase it. And I think that brings me also to my third favorite question. So we said, what is success? What is happiness? And another big one to ask is how much is enough? And I think that's a really important one, because again, people are just working and working and working because they need more and more and more and more. And again, we talk about for why. But if you're able, and this is about compromise and sacrifice, the moment you can understand in your life how much is enough, and that's different for everyone, of course. I always say, look, if you like nice cars and you want the Lamborghini or the Ferrari, fine, go buy it. Nothing wrong with that. But if your motivation for buying it is because I need my neighbor to see I've got it, then you're on a different path. But if you can reconcile yourself with, I know how much is enough, and that means financially how much is enough. That means what kind of house I want to live in. That's how do you want to spend your time? Is it on yourself, or is it on working with the family, etc., etc. These are deep, hard questions, and many people I've spoken to, and I'm sure it's exactly what you see in your line of work, is one, they probably never asked that question to themselves anyway, and two, when they do ask it, it's a hard question to answer. So where do you sit on that?
I don't know. I like the idea of always wanting more, but again, for the right reason. I like progress. I think progress is what makes people fulfilled. Mostly when you're ambitious and driven, you need to have progress in every areas of your life constantly. But I don't think enough is necessarily money.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think enough is a feeling. It's like, as I said, peace of mind. If you have a peace of mind, you don't really care. And I know there are people who will listen to that and think, yeah, but if I don't have money to feed my family, and
yeah, but I think we're framing this discussion anyway to a level of people who have the basics in life, right?
Okay,
and I think that's an important thing. It's important to understand that we can have this discussion because we're in a financial place of privilege.
Absolutely.
That's really important, because
Exactly.
of course there are going to be people who need to work every hour that God sends just to put food on the table, and that's obviously not who we're aiming at this discussion at.
Of course. But again, maybe for them this is enough. It's interesting because sometimes you ask people who are much lower in the rank, and you ask them if they want to be a manager, and they don't want, because for them it's enough. Because for them, they don't want the responsibilities. They have everything. They can go and leave at 5 and go and play football at night and spend time with their family. So for them, it's enough, So I do think that it's a question of the type of life that you have. Is it really aligned with what you really want? Is it aligned with your values? And once you have that, you can keep going and keep having things, but you will feel that it's enough because you are on that trajectory of building a life that is aligned, and you'll feel very comfortable in this. I do think that is the feeling that a lot of people are looking for. The problem is, as you said, when you are focusing only on the monetary aspect of things, it becomes your identity. So you're so tied to this because it represents you, who you are. You're so tied to that it's difficult to let go. It's difficult to make good decisions for your business and for you as well. And this is where it's never enough, because it can always be more. And because it can always be more, it's endless. And if you're never satisfied by that enough, you will never be satisfied. So I understand the need for more Lamborghini, more house. Like, I want a big house, I want a big car, I want to travel the world. I do want that, and I think 99% of the population would like to have that. That's okay, but that doesn't define my enough. My enough is not that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a feeling. It is a feeling, I think, more than anything else.
And that's exactly what I meant by when I say if you define how much is enough, it exactly doesn't mean you get there and you stop. Because I completely agree. There's so much more to it. There's intellectual growth as well. Just keeping yourself interested. And I think that's exactly right. Enough means in terms of monetary and other life values. So, for example, this discussion about work-life balance. Again, okay. From my life, I don't believe there's such thing as work-life balance. And that question again often gets thrown around is if people argue they spend too much time working. Again, that's sort of the proverbial accountant sitting in a cubicle, and when he's on his deathbed, he's saying, "I wish I spent less time at the office." Yeah, okay. If that's the life you have, maybe. But certainly in the work I do, just take myself as an example, because I can obviously speak about myself. I can work 24/7, 365. Okay. I love it. I don't have a work-life balance. My family understands what I do. They understand my passion for it. I prioritize certain things around, whether it's family holidays, whether it's certain things on weekends to do, whether it's birthdays, etc., celebrations. Then of course I have to make sure that I'm there for that. But there's no sort of 30. 30% of my time is work, 30% is family, 30% is sleep and rest. It doesn't work that way. By me working on doing something I'm super passionate about, it makes me immensely happy. So that's already ticking off the work box and the personal looking after box. It's stimulating me. I'm growing all the time, mentally and emotionally. I'm able to look after my family with that. And if I cut that down just for the sake of hours to tick a box, it doesn't make any sense to me. So that whole enough, and as you know, I run a non-profit, so I'm not doing it for personal financial gain by any means. But I feel in a really fortunate position where I'm blessed and I have enough. And if I can have more, that's fine. I'm perfectly happy to have more. But I think just going back, the challenge is that everyone's in this rat race and nobody stops, or very few people stop to actually even ask the question, why am I doing this? And if I'm doing it, what is enough? And what's actually making me happy?
And for those people, as you said, work-life balance doesn't make sense because anyway, they didn't build anything personally. So that's also the reason why people spend so much time at the office, even if they don't like it. Because what will I do if I come back home? That was my experience as well. Why would I come back at home at 6? I have no one there. There's nothing exciting for me. So if you ask someone to work on his work-life balance, as you said, just for the sake of the hours, then they'll go back home and be miserable because there's nothing at home. It's the terrible reality, but it is true. It's more like an integration. But as you said, I agree with you so much, and that's why I do what I do as well. It's not a question of system or strategy or anything like that. It's a question of what you do, and is it something that you truly enjoy? Because the difference with someone who is working in something they enjoy is even if they do a lot of hours, when they'll be home, they'll be fully present. I guess that when you are with your family, you're fully present. Of course, you always think about your business. This is entrepreneurship life, so you always have ideas and stuff like that. But still, when you're with your family, you can prioritize and you can be yourself fully. Where if you pour your time and your energy in something you hate, I'm not saying it's everyday beautiful, but something you hate, something you're not passionate about, and you just do that for the sake of having the title and the money. Unfortunately, even if you try to spend time with people, you're so exhausted, you're so tired. A lot of people don't even go out because they just don't want to see people. They're just, bored out and burned out. There's two different things, but this is what I see the most. And so that's why I agree with you on this work-life balance thing. It is not solving the problem anyway. Even for people who work too long hours, this is not the problem. The problem is you need to live your life. That's it. That's as simple as that. You need to find something that lights you up. And it doesn't matter if it's your work, if it's your life, if it's your husband, your wife, or if it's a hobby. But I'm realizing that a lot of us, we don't have that anymore in our life because we sacrifice instead of compromise. That's very different. Compromise means at some point you will have to prioritize certain way for your business and etc. That we understand, but you don't have to sacrifice everything that is lighting you up. You don't know the number of people that I meet. They tell you, I'm super adventurous. It's been 20 years that they didn't do anything nice for themselves, or they love cooking, but they never cook. It's simple, but we have to bring back that simplicity that will help us to feel better, to find back this fire, this motivation inside us, and to give us a bit more hope for the future. Because with a state of mind where you're completely bored out or burnt out, anyway, you can't manage work-life balance, as you said. You can't build a career, you can't shift, you can't pivot, you can't do anything because your mind is not there. So the core of the issue, it's not really a framework or a number of hours. It's more about what you said, which is, why am I doing what I do? What type of life do I want to build? Who I want to become? And what is important to me? When you have all of those questions, you already have a better foundation to make decisions and to shift and to move, I think.
I love your perspective on all of this, Lucie, and I love how you articulate it as well. Just to bring it back to you and what you're doing. You've been doing this for how long now? 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
3 years. How many clients have you had, approximately?
I don't know, because I did some group things, I did some talks in companies, but I would say privately,
Privately, yeah.
maybe 45. I work like on a 6 months, 1 year basis
Okay.
usually.
Okay.
I think maybe it's a wrong number, but
Okay.
around that, yeah, I think so.
Okay. Can I ask you, from that 45 rough number,
Yeah.
how many do you think have come out the other end and could now sit here and have this conversation with us with the same enthusiasm and support?
A lot. I hope so. It was very interesting what you said, because I organize dinners, and in those dinners, I have my close network and I have my clients. And sometimes I'm listening to my clients, with who I'm done usually working with them, and their speech and the way they look at life is so much more different. And I'm super proud to see that. At the end, it's not really about the big transformation, like shifting your career. Not everyone comes to me to shift a career or anything like that, but it's really to understand better who you are, so you can make better decisions in the future. And once you align that, you can see how many people would agree with our conversation and would fight for it.
Great.
And it's beautiful, because sometimes you see them having that aha moment where they're like, oh crap, I really want to change my life. And it's good and difficult at the same time, because it's such a hard things to do and a realization to have. But definitely they would be here and they would talk with the same enthusiasm as us, for sure.
Great. So just to close off, anybody who's been watching this and is fascinated, how do they contact you, and how do they work with you?
They can contact me on LinkedIn. This is my main platform. I think it's the easiest way to contact me. Just send me a message and say that you saw me on the podcast, and I'll be happy to have a chat and to see where that leads us.
Fabulous. Lucie, it's, as always, it's great to chat like this. I know we can carry on and on and on. And we'll do this again on your podcast again next time.
Yes.
No, always a pleasure. Thank you for your insights and sharing and everything you do in this space.
Thank you so much, Anil. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.